Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Let's get this show on the road. Let me pause the music. There we go. All right. How are you all feeling? Well, I'm feeling good. Hold on. Let me get my mic in the right position. There we go. Let's go for it, huh? Let's go for it. This is the Motivator Show. This is where we translate our words into action. This is where success is ours for the taking. Okay? That's the truth. Yeah? That is the truth. Now let's get the sound right this all round. Let's do it properly. There we are. Okay, I hope that we all receiving me well. Can I ask you if you are listening to me via galaxyfeedwe.net? You just send a quick message through to me indicating that I'm being heard well. If you are viewing us, of course, via YouTube and Facebook, yeah, send a message to us in the studio indicating you're hearing us and seeing us well. Huh? Use the graphic, the messenger on YouTube and Facebook. I see it here. You can contact us here directly in the studio. Let me just bring that up as well. There we go. There's the chat. So I'm going to say hi to you all via the chat. And please respond, just so I know you're receiving us loud and clear. There we are. Hi, everyone. There we go. Let's run it out. There you go. The wonders of modern technology, huh? The wonders of modern technology. Now, these are interesting times because remember, success is ours for the taking. And you've got to believe it. And you've got to believe that is a fact. But before I begin the show proper, what I want to do, of course, is to share with you those crucial, important lifestyle messages. Why they're so important? They're important. Thank you, Margaret. Thank you for that shout out. Thank you. Why are they important? Could many of you be aware that I'm an elected official? I see the regular statutory stats. I say regular, but they are in many ways irregular, what I'm reading. They're irregular because they give light to prevailing health conditions within our community. Health conditions to which we have total control over. It's within our gift, within our power to change. And that's why these are lifestyle messages. Okay? Because fundamentally, they're related to our lifestyle, how we live our lives, and therefore the impact how we live our lives on the wider community, but more importantly, ourselves. So I'm obliged, whilst I occupy these positions, I'm obliged to share these lifestyle messages. These are crucial messages that I receive from the professionals, those who have a clinical public health overview of us. These are the messages that we, the African communities, when I say African, I mean those of African heritage specifically, those from the continent and those from the Caribbean, and those who are born in Europe and other places, we're all of African heritage. Yeah? But also, these messages are to be shared with those of Asian, and particularly South Asian heritage, particularly from the Indian subcontinent, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and so on. Because they share very similar health profiles to ourselves. So I want you to bear with me and just listen to these health, indeed, lifestyle messages. Because they're said not because I'm going to gain financial improvement to myself. No. It's because I have children. And my children will meet your children. And what we want them to to have healthy babies with good habits. They can live long, healthy lives. But it starts with us, the adults, the parents, the current guardians, this generation, to guide, advise the next generation. And if you are the younger generation, please hear these messages. I ask you to consider the amount of sugar and salt that you consume every day. Yep, those very basic ingredients, sugar and salt. But they are in excess. Wow, they are to be considered dangerous. In some words, a poison to our bodies in excess, like most things are a poison to our bodies in excess. I no longer purchase sugar from the grocery store. I no longer have reason to purchase salt from the grocery store. I no longer add to my cooking, to my food, sugar and salt. Because the food I generally consume generally contains sufficient sugar and salt. Conditions you'll be familiar with, and this is common throughout our communities, throughout our families, throughout our communities, our societies. Diabetes and high blood pressure. I'll say again, diabetes directly related to excessive consumption of sugar and our body becoming numb to the insulin that we secrete in order to break down the sugar so it's in a form that our bodies can utilize. And salt, which causes very often the hardening of arteries and therefore the raising of our blood pressure because the heart has to work even harder to pump blood around our blood vessels, our arteries and our veins, of course. And we do this to ourselves because our cuisine is often a cuisine designed for people who are working physically in the fields. Heavy work, yeah? Heavy work, back-breaking work. We need an incredible amount of energy to stay alive. That's our cuisine, and that's how it typically is formed. And therefore, we eat the very rich food with lots of sugar and salt in them. Because once upon a time, it actually kept us alive. But here, in the 21st century, where we have an abundance of access to calories, yeah, which is covered with sugar, salt, and other items I'll mention in a moment, we eat these two specific ingredients to excess. To excess. I'm reminded of a speech given by Professor Hilary Beckles, the Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, when he quoted that in his own family, he had frightening levels of diabetes. Indeed, he cited the Caribbean as a place which is suffering from a diabetes epidemic. Yeah? It's not talked about often, is it? But far too many people in the Caribbean, and as well as in Britain, die from diabetes-related conditions. Indeed, far too many people, most certainly here in Britain, from our communities, are dying from hypertension or high blood pressure. Again, directly related to our action, to our cuisine, how we live our lives. So I simply ask you to consider reducing, significantly reducing, the amount of sugar and salt that you consume every day. I also ask you to consider the amount of carbohydrates and fats that you consume every day. Why carbohydrates and fat? Well, it's really quite simple. We eat far more than our bodies require, our brains require, in terms of the nutritional intake. You know, we live, as I said a moment ago, in an abundance of food around us. Yeah, And too many of us, and I included every so often, consume far too many calories. You recall from a previous guest to this show that he suggested that, in fact, the recommendation is that for each sitting, we should consume no more than a fistful of food per sitting. Yes, I know, I heard you. A fistful of food per sitting. We eat far too much. And carbohydrate, primarily in our case, derived from wheat-based products or produce, we eat to excess. Yep, we eat to excess. And what happens? We store it in our bodies. Yeah, just like the fat, again derived primarily from animal products. You know, when you see the white streaks in the lamb or the beef, yeah, yeah, or when you're grilling chicken, you see all the clear liquids that's coming out. Yes, it's water, but a significant proportion of it is fat. Simply fat. Yeah. And what our bodies do is store the fat. Yeah. Store the carbohydrates in our bodies. Yeah. And you see many members of our communities walking around with bloated shoulders, bloated abdomen, bloated thighs, and bloated buttocks or bottoms in other places. Yeah. Yes. That's directly related to the food we are consuming. And most critically, in relation to the size that far too many members of our community are currently. Yeah? Far too many members of our community are overweight, obese. Yeah? And far too many women, too many young women I encounter are overweight, obese, with a BMI above 25, yeah, a BMI above 30 to make them morbidly obese, yeah, I mean, it's dangerous levels, yeah, where you can barely move, you can see them shoving the fat as they move along, the excess consumption of calories. But we can do something about it. We must do something about it because it has a direct impact on our general health and well-being. It is so crucial. It is so crucial we get this right because far too many members of our communities are overweight as a direct result of how they live their lives, the food they're consuming. The other public health, indeed, lifestyle message I need to communicate it to you. I've mentioned the carbohydrates and the fat. The last one that gets us all, and me too, and that's starch. Starch primarily from, yeah, rice. Yep, I can hear us all. Don't worry, I know we eat it regularly. Don't worry, I get it, I get it, I get it. I hear the West Africans shouting, yes, you can talk about jollof rice. Yes, I'm going to talk about the jollof rice. I can hear those Africans from the Caribbean. Yes, I'm going to talk about the rice and peas and the thing. I'm going to talk about it. Yes, we eat in excess. Consequently, the starch, just like the carbohydrates and the fat, it converted into form that we store in our bodies for a rainy day when we're going to starve. But that rainy day, when we're going to starve, doesn't arrive. So our bodies continue to expand beyond what is reasonable for our bodies. Hypertension, high blood pressure, diabetes are epidemics in our community, as well as, and I've got to say this, above the norm. We have above the norm for cancers, yeah? We have above the norm, yeah? We have above the norm, okay? And those general health conditions, which are directly related to the condition of your bodies, are directly related to the foods and how you eat those foods in excess. directly related. The experts tell us, those in the know, and there are many members of my community who are in the know. So I really wish they do what I'm doing, to share the information with their families and their friends and their associates. They recommend we should eat far more fruits and vegetables. Yeah? Far more fruits and vegetables, particularly green vegetables. Yeah? Root vegetables, yeah, the yam, yeah, but in the right proportion, because the yam is full of starch and carbohydrate, lots of energy contained in it. But we eat it to excess. The amount of energy it's giving us is way and above our physical activity. So our bodies store it in anticipation of a rainy day, a day in which we're going to starve, which never comes. So we get bigger and bigger. Yeah. So they recommend more fruits and vegetables. I had my fruits already this morning, and I've had some green leaves and rockets and so things. Yeah, had that. But they also recommend, in doing what I just said, that is far more fruits and vegetables, that you drink the appropriate amount of water. Yeah, between 2 to 3 liters. I've got my water here. You can hear it. Between 2 to 3 liters of water per day. It does depend upon your size, your mass. Yeah. Speak to your doctor, your GP, speak to your nutritional pharmacist. He or she will provide you with the advice which is quite specific for yourself. I'm providing general advice. Okay, that's generally true, but it might vary depending on who you are, where you're living, how you're living your life, and so on. Okay, but generally, between 2 to 3 liters of water is what you require, and some of that water can be derived from the food you're consuming. Yeah, so it's hidden inside the food. Okay, in my case, I've got water here. I put a little bit of ginger and lemon in my water, for flavoring and to make it even more interesting. Lovely. Let me have some now. The ginger and the lemon. I love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah, absolutely crucial. More fruits and vegetable. And what gives it significance? And what gives that action, that deliberate action to take care of yourself, real significance when you exercise? Exercise is mission critical. Yeah, eating well and not exercising is counterproductive. Let me tell you, your bodies demand exercise. I don't mean just walking around the block. Whilst walking around the block is useful. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What is important is that you stretch and push all the muscles in your bodies, not just your leg muscles. That's what I mean. So walking around the block is great. But in my case, I've got weights. I do the running first thing in the morning before I get here. That's why I feel vigorous. I feel so alive when I get here. Because that really does pump me up. And there's my weights. And I love doing my weights because, of course, it's the upper part of my body. Those of you viewing me on Facebook and YouTube, you can see it under the Motivator Show. You can see it. Yeah. Now, do that, trust me, do that, do 100 of these per day. Oh, I feel it. My body's saying, yes, yes, the motivator, yes, the motivator. Keep doing this. This is what we need, yeah? Because why? Particularly if you live in the West, we have very sedentary lifestyles. We don't give our body the exercise it needs. And therefore, we have to take deliberate action to push and pull our bodies, because that's what our bodies crave in order to maintain its vigor, its vitality. Yeah, it's enabling us to boost our immune response when we're exposed to the usual maladies in the environment, such as the viruses, the bacteriums. Yeah, those diseases that pervade our environment. It boosts your immune system. Yeah, boost your immune system. It really is a powerful way of staying healthy. More fruits and vegetables, particularly the green vegetables, drinking the appropriate amount of water, and of course, exercise is absolutely critical. And those of you who are nervous at this point and say, what the motivator is saying, I can't do that, you can. You can. You can because you can do it for yourself. You can because you got your loved ones, those who care for you, those who use you as an example. And even if you are living by yourself, you can because you don't want to be weighed down by illnesses. Yeah? I have many friends who have both diabetes and hypertension, high blood pressures, with cancers, yeah, who've had a whole range of conditions, okay, which appear to be unrelated to their lifestyle, but has a direct correlation to their lifestyle. Because the prevalence in our community is above the average. So there has to be causal impact as a result of how we live our lives. I know these messages for some people is difficult because how are you going to start? I would recommend you start by simply speaking to a friend and asking that friend, would you spend 5 or 10 minutes with me? Yeah. And just do some stretching exercise. You can find it anywhere on the internet. It's just a few exercises. Just start slowly. Yeah, start slowly. I did it, starting slow, just like sugar. I've told you all. I've got a sweet tooth. Took 10 years before I was able to stop buying sugar from the groceries. 10 years. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Exercise. Well, I'd always exercised all my life, but it's the degree to which I exercise. That's why it was good, if you can afford it, a personal trainer, someone who create a exercise routine for you and help you to do it. But if you can't afford a personal trainer, honestly, the internet has some really useful exercise routine that you can obtain for free. Okay, but remember, your health is your wealth. There should be no limitations. Okay. Oh yes, and indeed, I will talk about dairy product. I didn't mention it today. I will mention it. Someone did mention it here. Yes, dairy products are just fat, just bovine fat. In other words, cow's fat. Yes, that's all it is. Cheese is hardened cow's fat. Butter is less hardened cow's fat. You can spread in your bread. Yeah, that's what it is. Cow's fat. Minimal amounts of dairy is what the expert would recommend, if any at all. Yeah? Maybe for babies, maybe you might need the excess fat, but for grown adults, well, I have to question it myself. That's a bit of common sense, really. But if you like the cheese and you want to continue eating it, that's your choice. But just simply be aware, it's simply fat, hardened cow's fat. There you are. I've mentioned it now. And lastly, as regards these health healthcare, indeed lifestyle messages. Healthcare because, of course, we are caring for our health, but lifestyle because it's our action, yeah? The verb, in other words. Mhm. Last two messages for you very quickly. The first message is, of course, we must take care of our spiritual and mental health. It is a vital part of who we are as human beings. Take care of your spiritual and mental health. Okay. If in doubt with regards to your mental health, speak to a friend, but most crucially, speak to a doctor. So that doctor can give advice as to the right professional for you to speak to. I say again, do not suffer in silence. If you're feeling unsure, speak to a friend, and I'm confident that friend will give you the advice and give you the support you need to seek out professional advice. I urge you to do so. Please do not hesitate. But our spiritual health, particularly as African people, we are truly a spiritual people without any shadow of a doubt. Okay? Taking care of our spiritual health, I would say to you, seek out your spiritual advisors. Okay? Okay? Absolutely. And the way in which I personally find calmness is to meditate each day. I meditate on average of 30 minutes or so per day. At this point in the day, I close my eyes. I deep, I, I, I breathe deeply while sitting down. I can hear, but no longer hear my surroundings. I find inner peace. Clear my mind of all the trials and tribulations around me. And I focus on that inner peace. I do this for at least 30 minutes per day. And after that 30 minutes, I'm alive. Yeah, I've raised my energy levels, my feelings of vigor and determination. Then I then shout out, yes, success is ours for the taking. Praise Jah, Rastafari, ha, bless Ashun. And I feel so vigorous and determined, nothing can get in our way. Okay? I pause there on our lifestyle messages, and I hope they find you well. I know for some it's challenging, I realize, but please seek out your friends, seek out your associates, yeah? Seek the advice. If not, speak to your doctors, your GP, whoever has professional qualifications and can provide sound advice that you can rely upon, whoever has access to your medical records. All righty, I'll pause there, but it's absolutely crucial. And I want to thank all of you who's provided feedback over these past months and years or so, and have given testimony as to the impact those lifestyle messages has had on yourselves, okay? Because once there's a level of awareness, it's not until someone repeats the message again and again and again is the message finally heard. I get it. Don't worry, I get it. Because I'm stubborn. I am stubborn. So I get it. I understand you. I have the empathy for you. Why I spend this time, first thing in the morning, speaking and discussing with you these crucial lifestyle messages. I hope you will promote good health and well-being. Okay, and thank you for those messages, and thank you for your support on these messages. All righty. I'm now going to go on to the next phase of the show, which is where I want to simply reflect upon some of our past contributors, those inspired contributors who have really shown us what it is to be a person of African heritage. The pride listening and observing some of my guests, you know. From them, you gain real confidence, a real sense of pride. You feel empowered because you've seen ordinary men and women behaving in extraordinary fashion. In other words, that can be you. Yes. Yes, that can and will be you if you choose. You've got to make that choice for yourselves. Whole purpose of these shows is to empower, that you are motivated, yeah, to take control and to do better for yourself, your loved ones, your friends, your associates, indeed, for our community. Yeah? Okay. So I thank you for your support. I thank you for your warm messages to me. I thank you. I thank you. So what I want to do for just spend a few minutes before my guest arrives, and this is going to be a truly thrilling show. Let me assure you, truly thrilling show. I want to reflect on some of our past guests, okay? And we've had some truly inspired members of the community who've given up their time so that we can hear those messages. I want to, first of all, remind you of the show I had on the 6th of May. I have to say, to some embarrassment, I say it every week, I know, but since then, but I did want to keep saying it. For the very first time, I had a health show for men. The 9 other health shows I'd had were all for women. For whatever reason, I cannot explain it. I don't know. All the health shows were really geared towards supporting women. I've only had one health show that really focused on men's health specifically. On the 6th of May, I had a show that was focused on Black men, the truth about prostate cancer. Okay? And the theme of that show, of course, was listen to the professor, Professor Frank. Okay? Listen to his words. Yeah? And it was very clear that prostate cancer is the biggest killers, akin to breast cancer in women. But in women, of course, there are millions of pounds are spent every year in Britain on breast screening for women. But there's not an equivalent screening program for men, despite the fact 1 in 4 black men, men of African heritage, will get prostate cancers or have a prostate condition. It is recommended that black men from 45 onwards should go to the doctor and ask for the annual test, which is a PSA test. Okay, so that test will be able to measure the level of very, very specific antigens in your blood that could be a foreshadow for a problem with your prostate. I urge the men who are listening and viewing this program, please, if you haven't spoken to your doctor in the past year, if you've not had a PSA test and you're over 45, I urge you to do so. You don't need to tell anyone that you've done it. You know, that's what you're worried about. Okay? It is not invasive. Okay? But it's a straightforward test. And believe it or not, prostate cancers, if caught early, can be managed and effectively cured, but most certainly managed. I urge the men to do so. And I know, like me, there's some men out there who had not seen a doctor for many years. In my case, it was nearly 3 decades before I promised the doctor I'd go back once a year. I know, mad, totally mad, totally mad. Don't worry, totally mad. And those men who've not been to doctor for those years, please, I urge you to do so. And those who are loved ones or are friends of men who've not been to doctor for over a year, I urge you to encourage them to do so. In some cases, they will need your very calm voice. Hold them by the hands, but calmly take them to their doctor. Yeah, that's what we need sometimes as men. Yeah, for someone who is close to us, sometimes just to hold our hand, to reassure us, to go to the doctor. Yeah, it is the manly thing to do. Okay, it is the manly thing to do. Okay, so, but the show on the 6th of May was an excellent show. It was information rich, and you can see the recordings on YouTube and Facebook. Okay, the truth about prostate cancer. Okay, I want to thank the Professor Frank for his illuminating show and providing information in a manner that didn't put men off. Okay. Okay. I say that deliberately because we're very sensitive people, really, us men. And many of us easily frightened. Okay, all right. But it's an important subject. I know I laugh and I joke, but honestly, I cannot understate its importance. Please, if you are a husband, if you're a boyfriend, yeah, if you've got a brother, or if you've got a nephew, if you've got a cousin, yeah, or you've got a grandson, please, yeah, and they're over 45, please go to your doctor and get that PSA test. Really, as a test for prostate cancer. Okay, really important. Okay. And I just want to spend 1 more minute, really focus on another show I did, a slightly earlier show on the 25th of March. The title of that show was Afri-Optimism. Mm-hmm. Why our young invest in Africa. Yeah. When I mean, and what that show demonstrated, investment can come in many forms. It could be a young person from our community here in London, here in Britain, yeah, or the United States or Europe, who's gone through the education system, acquired a whole range of skills, and then taking those skills, in this case, to Kenya, in this case, the guest I had. Because his visit to Kenya demonstrated the many opportunities that were available in that country. I've spoken to young men and women from Nigeria and Ghana and have said much the same. They've got the skills, and the opportunities in those countries is enormous. Absolutely enormous. Powerful, powerful messages. Why our young invest in Africa? Yeah, the place where the next global revolution will take place. Yeah, it is ripe for investment. Yeah, young population ripe for employment. Yeah, that's where real wealth is going to be created for the next century or two, because that's where the growth potential exists beyond all bounds. Mhm. There you go. So all those big investors around the world are now investing in Africa. Yeah, because the growth potential is enormous. So it's only right. It is only right that some of our young will see Africa as being that growth potential for employment and wealth creation. Okay? It was a powerful program, truly powerful, or podcast, as the common parlance displays these days. Yeah, a truly powerful, enlivening experience. And I want to thank my guest and those who called in. I want to thank you all for making what was a truly edutainment experience. No way could it be described as being boring, that's for sure. No way, no way, no way. So those are the two shows I wanted to focus on for now, because I now want to start to prepare for the arrival of my guest, okay? And I want to make sure that my guest is someone I've known for a very long time, okay? But is someone who is truly inspiring. Yes, I surround myself with inspired people. Don't worry, yeah? Because you see, if you do that, you become inspired. You learn from them. Yeah, you're inspired by them. You're motivated by them, huh? Yeah, and you deliver for them because they provide the exemplar, the examples. Yeah, it can happen. It can be done. That's what we all need, examples. Yep, so it can be done. Mhm. So I hope my guest will be able to get in. What I'm going to do, just to help my guest, and I hope my co-presenter will join us shortly, don't worry, and that will make life easier. I want to just check my guest. If my guest is listening, please, if you could log in now, and I will, then we can start your part of the show, because this is going to be truly inspiring. Okay, as I said, my guest is a truly inspired person, and I want to give my guest the ample time that my guest deserves. Now, whilst that's happening, I also want to give a big shout out to a local project, a local a community organization that has sent out a message. I want to give a big shout out for the Camberwell After School Project. Okay. And those of you who know Southwark, those of you who know Camberwell, and those of you of a certain age, go back to the 80s, remember the campaign to acquire buildings, particularly for the Black community, to acquire buildings and to develop support services for the community. And the Camberwell After School Project was one of those initiatives that came out of that early work, going back, 20, 30, 40 years ago. Okay. Now, its mission is to deliver a coherent range of services that meet the needs of local parents, particularly lone parents, who wish to study, yeah, to work, or actively seeking full-time work. Now, their services are aimed at primary school children between the ages of 4 to 11 years old, and entails a provision of a safe and happy environment before and after school, safe travel to and from school, a full-day service during school holidays. During the holiday time, that opens full-time to support parents. Yeah? There is free childcare service aimed at 2 to 4 year old. Yes, free childcare service aimed at 2 to 4 year old. And this would entail the provision of 15 hours per week per child, where young children can learn, play, explore, and develop themselves. The overall mission is also to enable children to develop both socially and academically, both for the provision of appropriate play and through structured learning. What an organization. They've given a big call out because they're having difficulty in their funding. Okay. So I want you to go to the Camberwell After School Project website, which is www.casp.org, and give generously. Support the Camberwell After School Project. All righty. And that's a shout out. I'll give that message out again in the latter part of the show. But I really wanted to give a shout out because one of my children went to the Camberwell After School Project, so I can testify to the outstanding service that my children received. Okay. So what I'm now going to do, I'm going to, just to help my guest to get into the show, I'm going to just put a little bit of music on for a few minutes. I won't be long. I'm just going to help my guest to access the show. So please bear with me. I'm really sorry. It's going to bear with me. Just turn on the music. Here we go.
Hello. Hello.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Councillor.
Ah, oh, here I am, the motivator.
Yay. You motivated me to get out of bed very early.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry we couldn't do it the other way. So, for the listeners' sake, we had a slight technical difficulty in connecting the great, Her Eminence, Councillor Dora Dixon File, but we've got her audio-wise. Huh? How are you, Dora? How are you?
I'm very, very well indeed. Thank you so much for inviting me. You're an icon.
Oh, you're the icon, I can tell you. And you sound so clear. I'm just going to, if I may, just adjust some of the volumes to make sure. Now, before we begin, there's something I want to do, okay? And
Yes.
and I know you won't mind, okay? Because
Okay.
what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask the listeners just to bear with me and the viewers to bear with me because I'm going to do something which isn't naughty, not naughty, but I want to show the listeners who you really are. Okay? So you just stay there, Councillor
Okay.
Dora Dixon File.
Okay.
And I want the listeners and the viewers to appreciate what I'm about to do. 1 second. Just bear with me for a second.
Okay.
Let me get it set up. There we
Thank
go.
you.
No, it's
Thank
all
you,
right.
Martin.
Don't you worry. Stay right there because what I'm about to do will be really important. And if I can get this to work first time, it'd be nice, of course. There we go. There we go. There we are. I've got it here. Stay right there, Dora. Now then, there we go. I want to, and of course, I can't see what I'm looking for here for some reason. 1 second, Dora. Okay,
Yes,
what I'm going to do in a moment. What I'm going to do in a moment.
It's a pleasure to be on your show. Absolute pleasure.
Okay, 1 second. All right, if we just do this for everyone else and that as well. Over here. Okay. There's always a technology for me here, making sure for some reason when I want to do it not visible, I will I see it is it is visible now. There we go. And bear with me for people. Bear with me for a moment. I want you to listen carefully to what I'm about to show. There we go. No, we'll try it again. Okay, we'll do it one more time. Bear with people, bear with me. I'll get this right. But I want the listener to hear this because this is you, Councillor Dora Dixon File, in your greatest time. Listen to this, people.
Hello, I'm Councillor Dora Dixon File, and I've been a councillor in Camberwell Green for a very long time, almost 24 years. As we are approaching International Women's Day, I'm delighted by the numbers of older women who've come out of retirement in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, and they're back in the NHS serving the community again. Thank you to them, and happy International Women's Day to all of you.
And that was you, Councillor Dora Dixon File, inspiring women and congratulating women on International Women's Day. Well done, you. Huh?
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's just important that particularly backwards, that we're in everything, we're involved in everything, and that we join in and take part in inspiring people. It's really important to do that.
I completely agree with you. So well done. What I want to do, if I may, Dora, could we are going to have a few interesting questions. Really get to know you because I know you quite well, but my audience do not.
Yes.
So I'm going to be a little naughty again. I'm going to ask you to share an event that has determined your life path. that has really influenced you and made you who you are today? Just share what event has shaped you.
Um, yeah. Share something. I suppose what's made me go to public life
Mm-hmm.
and made me the sort of person I am today was not an event as such. Was a person. That was my mother, and she was very a very chatty person in the street. And she would always say to people, you want to have been tempted, you want the lights are off, they're not come on. And when I used to come home from work, and I worked in different places, various places, I worked at Marks and Spencer's, I worked for a local authority, I worked in teaching, and she would come, she said, "Oh, Dora, before you sit down to have your evening meal, so-and-so down the street wants, to complain about her drinks not being able to tell us, flickering outside in the street, because keeping her up and everything." And so, back in the days, mum said, "Do this, dad said, do that." He said, "Yes."
Yes.
And he went off and did it, and it helped. And that was something that, seeing people getting things done really, really, not changed my life. I mean, that was my life. That was my life. Doing things for people in our streets before ever I thought about politics. And then the other thing that I think I'm put on the path I'm on now is working for Harriet Harman.
Oh, yes, MP.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, the MP for the iconic MP,
Yes.
fabulous MP for Campbell and Peckham. I worked for her for nearly 2 decades.
Oh, gosh, I didn't realise. Okay.
Yes, 16 and a half years. And that put me on the path I'm on because I could see the changes that one could make. Not just the changes, but the relief on the face of those people that you've been able to help. So, I mean, I'll give you just one or two examples. One was a person who'd been detained in a detention centre up in Scotland, and his wife and child were down here in Campbell and Peckham, and he was up in the detention centre up in Scotland. And putting him together with her, I had the phone in one hand, and he had his mobile up in Scotland, and just putting them on speakerphone, both the wife on speakerphone. It was like just she was just crying because we sorted out the problem, and she was crying, and he was saying, I'm coming home. And that's something I'll never forget, that relief on her part, and just him just couldn't wait to get we put on the train to come down to England, London. So those two things, I think it sort of seeped into me, I suppose, really. The more I did, the more I was called upon to do, and the more I wanted to do.
I understand. Yes.
Yeah. So, and I found I enjoyed that more than the teaching, more than the working for a local authority. In a way, I suppose I am still working for a local authority, but obviously at the other end. But yeah, so those are sort of things that I think made me want to. It just made me the person I am, I suppose, really.
In that case, Dora, why should people of African heritage seek elected office, such as councillors or members of parliament? Why should we?
Yes. Why should they? I think they should do that because I think everybody, first of all, needs to, give back, pay back. We should all be, helping each other. We come across, those people that need the help. We should be that bit of encouragement and help.
Mhm.
You know, I think my mum used to say that it's when you need help, you should get help, not suffer.
Yes.
So I think we should all do some sort of public service, and this is what I do, public service. I mean, you might not want to be part of it. You might want to be a magistrate. You might want to be I don't know, a volunteer.
Uh-huh.
I don't know, it's at least a lot or something like that. So, you know, it's just volunteering. It's just paying back the community, doing your little bit for the community. But you say specifically council or member of parliament. Well, I think it's up to whether you want to do national stuff or you want to do local stuff. And I began by doing local stuff for people. That's earlier on. So why should they want to do that? Well, I think, look at it politically, we should all have a voice.
Yes. Okay.
You know, we should all have a voice. And the more of us, because you mentioned African heritage, the more of us that have a voice, the more that inequalities that we face as people of colour, I think, will reduce.
Agreed.
Because, you know, I mean, we all know that those who shout loudest, they get heard. But those who don't, I don't think we'll have to shout. We can talk, we can negotiate, we can do things like that. But the more people of colour that get involved in the community, the more you can steer it how you think it should be. I mean, it might be wrong, it might be totally wrong, I don't know. But to have the opportunity to have a voice and to use that voice,
yes,
you know, it's really, really important. And of course, if you go on to try to influence it on a national scale, I mean, the example I gave to you of the chap in a detention centre, that is not a national thing, isn't it, really? Looking at everything about refugees and the law as it appertains to everybody. Everybody is what I'm doing. But, you know, that gives you a say. You can change things right at the top.
Absolutely.
But people just want to change things locally in their neighbourhood. And why shouldn't they? In the school, why should they?
Yes.
So that's why I think we should all get involved in three things. One, to pay back to the community that we live in. We don't have to, but it'll make our area better. It'll be moulded by your example. And so, yeah, that's why I would definitely
Thank you.
People of African heritage. I mean, everybody, but it should contribute to their community, but especially people of colour, people of African heritage.
Absolutely. And Dora, just to be clear, I've mentioned councillors and MP because you and I are politicians. But I note you mentioned there magistrates, for example.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. And school governors.
And school governors, indeed. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, it's anything and everything you can do.
I'm sorry. I'm still going to stop that call. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's everything. It's everything because, you know, if you don't say anything, you're leaving to other people to determine your future.
Indeed. You let say that again, Councillor Doyle, because that was well said. You said you let what? Other people do what?
If you don't say anything, if you don't speak up, you let other people determine your future.
There you go. There you are.
You know, you have to steer things how you think it should go. Yeah. You have to help those who are coming after you to be someone, to be somewhere when the people who are younger than come up and say, well, he or she could do that, I can do that, and I can do it better. Great, hurrah, hurrah.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Because otherwise we just stand still, we be stagnate.
Well said. Well said. And thank you for that response, because it's one that comes up, a question that comes up very often. So at least some members of our community who would let others take control of those public services that they most depend upon. I've never understood it, Kim. But I suppose I should declare here that you and I, not only are we local councillors, okay, and we work together, but we work together in the
Yes,
Southwark Council Cabinet. We are both cabinet members, okay.
yes,
Now, your role as cabinet member for community safety,
yes.
what are your specific responsibilities? Just so that the audience and listeners can appreciate your role's responsibilities. Yeah.
Well, it's a portfolio that covers lots of things, things that you would truly imagine. So when I say community safety, people think, the police. Yes, 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 yes. It is the police that you seek to work with and to encourage them to work with us, the community.
Yes.
So I'll come back onto that more in a minute. But it's also other things like, for example, the regulatory services. So noise nuisance. If you've got somebody having a party, I don't know, 2 in the morning or something, and they flat above you, our the team that I manage is the noise nuisance team,
Okay.
And they will come out and sort out the issue, because there's rules and regulations around what you can do, when you can do, etc., especially
Yes.
appertaining noise. So you've got noise nuisance teams, you've got the wardens, the chaps that go around wearing the red jackets,
Yes.
community wardens. So probably lots of people know them because you see them around more often. I suppose they help with lots of things.
Right.
So it's community warden. The team also manages private rented sector.
Right.
So housing. If you've got a rogue landlord, for example, we've just introduced a scheme in Southwark whereby you can report your landlord, somebody else can report their landlord, and we're using a carrot and stick, as I always describe it, a carrot and stick. So we're encouraging them to improve the dwellings that they're letting to tenants, and then we encourage them to bring it up to standard. Not just in terms of the accommodation. We don't want no mold, we don't want no dam.
Yes.
It's more than that. It's actually things like, for example, we all talk about climate change, and it's about encouraging the landlords to put in appliances that are energy efficient, for example, or seeking help from us, the local authority, to make their properties safe, fireproof, and as I said, to make sure that it's energy efficient and can actually hold us up in the climate change debates that they're having. And if they don't do that, of course, then we actually can find them, take them to court, etc.
Wow. So it's quite a large and complex portfolio. You, an African woman, have political oversight of those services.
Things and more. And I could go on, but there's also other things more as well. But that's mainly what I do. Yes.
Wow. And it's really is important for particularly young people and those members of our community to appreciate that the members of their families are in really important position, guiding how public services are delivered, okay, and ensuring those public officials have political oversight and our collective views as politicians through our manifesto and council plan are actually delivered on the doorstep to our residents.
Yes, and also I should mention also violence against women and girls.
Yes.
Because we were shortlisted as recently for an award, a local government award, and I must say, I really enjoyed the outing to the, I think it was the Grosvenor Hotel we went to, full of confidence. But we didn't win, but we were shortlisted, which is in itself, when you think about how many councils there are up and down the country, we did really well. And that was a film we did to show that to be interposed girls' boys. So we had the girls wolf whistling at the boys, and it really just changed the perspective. And we took it to local schools and said, well, what do you think of this? And how would you feel if you were being wolf whistled or being, somebody's looking up your skirt or something, and it was really meant to a really interesting assembly, and it got a lot of them in the audience there talking about it, talking about how good it is. So it's things like that. It's things like also talking to parents and asking to show us where they feel unsafe, for example, and then we again try and obviously put those areas right, looking at whether it's in pavement, whether it's a tree, whether it's a dark alleyway, for example. It's my role and the team's role to put that right. So it's quite a broad remit.
So I've seen you working. Dora, I've seen you working. You work those long hours, yeah? If all these residents realise how many hours you work.
That's when it gets dark and, that's when people want to bring things up. And yes, absolutely. But then again, I love what I'm doing. So, I'm sure like you, we love what we do. So we find the energy from somewhere.
Yes, but certainly. I understand. Trust me. I understand. And I equally feel as invigorated by the important work that we do on behalf of the community. Another question for you. You kind of inferred it in your answer a moment ago. Are the police overreacting when an incident involves a young person of African heritage? Do they overreact?
Well, okay. That is quite a heavy question. I suppose what I'm thinking about now is stop and search and things like that. But if we look at the data,
okay,
yes. It's about trust. It's about trust and confidence, as Louis Casey mentioned in her report recently. Yes, we as a community of colour, we so the data shows. I checked this. The data shows when I talk to people. I said it is true. The data says that people of colour have a much lower level of trust in the police than white Londoners do.
But just to be clear, Councillor Dora, the Baroness Casey's report emphatically said, particularly in relation to the London Police Force, the Metropolitan Police Force, she cites in this official parliamentary report that the London Metropolitan Police Force are sexist, misogynistic. They exhibit homophobic behaviour, and most certainly exhibit through their actions what can be termed as racist behaviour in their delivery of services. So, is it a question of trust, or is it a question of competency within the police force?
I think you could argue both, actually. Certainly, as Black Londoners, we are over-policed. We're more likely to be tasered, battened, handcuffed, etc. And we're over-represented in serious crimes, yes, but also when we are victims of crime, we're also less likely, we're not satisfied with the actions that some police officers take. And I say some because there are some good officers there. I wouldn't tar them all with the same brush, but certainly we are overrepresented in the crime figures, and we're overrepresented in terms of lack of trust in the police. And Baroness Casey, as you quite rightly said, has said quite clearly that shootings that are institutionally racist. As talk about colour at the moment.
Yeah.
And so I think this talk about trust and lack of confidence, etc., it has to be tackled head on.
Okay.
It really has. And that's one of our most important jobs at the moment.
Absolutely.
We've got a new borough commander.
Yes.
And it's
In fact,
really
if I may,
important.
Dora, just to ask a question about that, because it is true. We the new borough commander for Lambeth and Southwark came along to our council assembly a few months ago.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now we now have a black borough commander. Now,
Yes.
what difference will he make to policing in Southwark and Lambeth? I know it's a heavy question, okay, because you're the political leader, as it were. But what difference do you believe he can make? He most certainly spoke quite eloquently at our council assembly a few months ago.
Yes. Well, yes. He did speak eloquently, and I've met him. And he's a really, he's a. I think he's a good person. He's got his heart in the right place. I think he can make a difference, both in Southwark and in Lambeth. It's early days yet, but you said, what difference can he make? Well, firstly, this is what difference can I make? What difference can you make? I can tell you what difference we can all make, and that is to actually use our lived experience to bring that to the job. There's not one person of colour that I've spoken to about a similar topic that hasn't said they got experience of X, Y, Z, of being called names or one end, of being wrongfully arrested at the other end, and so forth. So he can bring his lived experience to the job, and he can see things from our point of view, which is something that people, white people cannot see that. No matter how you try, no matter how you say you've lived in an area for many years, blah, blah, blah. But unless you've lived it, I don't think you can actually experience or know what it feels like to be stopped and searched. I mean, I have been stopped and searched.
Forgive me, Councillor. Forgive me, Councillor Dora. Sorry, Councillor. Yes. Did you say you've been stopped and searched?
Yes, I have been. Okay. Because back in the day,
right, okay.
Years ago now, I used to drive a particular car. It was a very flashy car, and I could only drive that car because I had a relative who worked at Ford's in Dagenham. It was in Dagenham back in those days. And I knew, because we had the town hall over in Peckham, and I know that I knew the council said we'd always used to finish really late, but we've regulated that now. So now we have to finish at a certain time. But back in those days, you may remember, Martin, they would go on out, coming out of the town hall, the old town hall, midnight kind of thing. Yeah. And if you're going around a sort of side journey, I was that time, to take a shortcut to go home, you'd know there'd be police officers waiting because I'm driving a flash car and it's late at night. But so I've experienced that myself, and it makes a difference to how you think. But you have to stay positive, and maybe that's the reason why I went to do this job, because it means that I can actually change and influence the outcome. And this is very early days with the Black Commander, but the whole report that Baroness Casey did is, I think, going to test all of us, because we both have to give and take in terms of the police force and ourselves. We both have to give and take, and we have to get it right this time. It's been there a short time, and we need to have a long-term change, and the net needs to be, and I think they are under our commander. They are really keen to make that change, to really transform the way the police force operates.
I know I described him as being a black borough commander, which really is not very complimentary. I don't think he's a man of Ghanaian heritage, if I recall.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. So I want to describe him as being a man of Ghanaian heritage who is now Southwark's new borough commander. And I want to wish him well in his work, and we hope that he does have that impact on local policing. Okay. But another question for you:
Yes.
how can a guardian or parent support children to avoid being involved in let's say antisocial behaviour or indeed violent crime? And I want to emphasise this is only true for a small number of our children. Okay,
Yes.
I want to emphasise
Correct.
that. But what do you believe parents can do to support children to avoid being involved in antisocial behaviour or indeed violent crime?
Well, where should I start? I suppose, I mean, it's a difficult question to answer, especially in this time of cost of living crisis and this crisis and that crisis. I think when I look back at my childhood, if your parents have got a good relationship, and I suppose this is more important now than it was in my day when I was young, it's the relationship, because children are seen now as equal.
Pardon?
You've got to have a good
Equal?
relationship with them. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I mean, they grow up so fast.
Okay.
But a good relationship with them, talk openly with them. But then again, you think parents are normally working shifts or working 2 or 3 jobs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's difficult to say be home at a certain time if you're not going to be home, because children are children.
Mm-hmm.
You want them to stick to good rules, clear rules, which you've imparted into them. You want, but if the parents fall short of being able to do all that, and it's quite understandable. We understand why they may well mention 2 jobs, 3 jobs, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We have the local authority. We've got a series of specialist staff who can help support, like the youth offending team. We have things like free meals if the young people go to, for example, with the summer holidays coming. Children are going to be around, a lot more than there when they're in school. So, if they go to volunteer organisations that will put on, things for them to do, mm-hmm. and including free food. My colleague, Councillor Coulter, is talking about now setting up the provisions for children who are not at school and some holidays, so they can actually have a meal.
Yes.
Which they go to a voluntary sector organisation, but have activities to do, and they'll have meals thrown as well. And then you've got other charities out there who are during the holidays, especially for the young people. But it's actually giving them something to do, and actually there's a bit of trust there as well. You've got to trust them when school's over. They've got to be home and do their homework and things like that. It's a 50-50. It's a partnership. And I think some parents go wrong when they think because they're the parents, they're going to lay down the law and that's it. Mm-hmm. It's not like that anymore.
Yeah. Can I just say at this point, Councillor Dora, and first of all, your points are well taken and they're most certainly correct. But of course, there's a wonderful traditional proverb of our peoples that it takes a village to raise a child.
Yes.
And more importantly, a child not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth.
Okay. Indeed. I think that's very powerful, but I think also that things have changed. In the old days, back, you could go to a neighbour and stay with that neighbour until mum and dad had come home.
Yes.
Those things don't happen now because we haven't got that extended family around us.
My counsellor. Again, I can just say at that point, and that I hear that refrain often. But I'm bound to respond to those who say it, like yourself as well, that the traditional wise saying of our ancestors, a child not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth, is a profound statement. It means that there is a collective responsibility, regardless if the child lives half a mile down the road. We are still parents as a collective, and therefore we are as involved in that child's emotional, academic, spiritual development as is the blood parent.
Yes.
Is that not so, my counsellor?
Yes, I do agree with you. All I'm saying is that we are no longer a village. We're no longer a village where we know everybody. We can trust everybody, and we know that people who are next door to, they're not going to, do horrible things to us or to our children. We're much, especially, how many people in London? 9 million, 8.5 million people.
Again, my counsellor, I do want to intervene again, just to make it clear, particularly for the audience, because they know who I am and what I'm about to say. What's your right? London and indeed Britain, in many ways, it's quite a big place, relatively speaking. Okay. Actually, it's about networks and maintaining our networks. Because I'm aware, for example, of a guest who was here only a few weeks ago, but Brother Near, and he runs the National Association of Black Supplementary Schools. Okay, and it just so happens that today, a group of supplementary schools from across London are having their annual sports day. Hundreds of children are going to be engaged in sport, and these are supplementary schools which are wholly funded by our community in support of the children and therefore their families. In other words, if we wish to make a difference in our children's life as a collective, we can. I want to applaud those who manage supplementary schools and other youth organisations within the community, so they are able to reverse any suggestions that it's too much for us. But over to you, my counsellor, because clearly this is a really important aspect of what I do, taking responsibility for what's happening to our children. But anyway, over to you.
Yes, I 100% agree with you. And I too applaud those supplementary schools and even churches as well, who do similar things. When I was there,
and the mosque.
I drove all the way up to Greenwich, and there was a huge field up coming in there. The field was a massive field, and there were sports there as well. And they had gazebos that sell food and things like that, etc. It was really a really lovely day. So I agree with you. I just wanted to say, just to add that little bit of caution, that some places it's easier to do than others. There are, as we talked about, voluntary organisations out there who do these kind of things and who do offer a safe haven for our young people to get involved in. So yes, it does take a village to raise a child, but I think that if they were to get involved in supplementary schools, I mentioned the church, other organisations, etc. And that does happen. It does happen, especially in Scotland. It does happen. It does happen.
It most certainly
does.
Yes.
We just need to take a little bit of caution.
And again, my counsellor, it could be that you and I and others in our position need to give promotion to these organisations.
Yes, it's true.
What I'm very conscious of course, is that nearly half the population in Southwark of sort of diverse ethnic background, of which the
Correct.
largest proportion of African heritage background, without any shadow of a doubt. And of course, you and I, of course, will know that following the atrocity committed in America against George Floyd, we established the Southwark Stands Together pledges. You remember?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
and if I may, I'm just going to read out some of them because it would be useful for the audience to understand the work that you and I and others have been involved in, okay, in the Southwark Stands Together. And this is kind of, it sits in the center of your own portfolio. So the Southwark Stand Together pledges, Southwark have developed 5 anti-racist pledges and commitment that Southwark Council, and indeed Southwark as a borough, is an anti-racist environment, an anti-racist organisation. And the 5 pledges, I'll quickly read them, that you may want to comment afterwards, Councillor Dora. The council, we pledge to promote an open and transparent culture where employers who experience and see racism or discrimination are able to raise it and expect the issue to be dealt with in a swift and fair manner. Second pledge, we pledge to listen and amplify our diverse voices within our organisation on how we create an inclusive, fair and representative workplace at all levels. Profound statement. The third pledge, we pledge to work to address and prevent structural racial inequalities and structural racism within our organisation. To organisations we partner with and with the services that we deliver. Fourth pledge, we pledge to champion organisations that address racial injustice and organisations that promote equality and diversity. And the last pledge, we pledge to ensure that people of all backgrounds can rise to the top of the organisation. And I'll just simply note that Southwark Council now has a woman of African heritage who is now our chief executive. Okay, there you are.
Yes. Yes.
You may wish to comment. Yes.
For me, that's absolutely the cherry on the cake. To have Althea as our chief executive, that just goes to show how far we as a council have come. Yes. When I began as a councillor 26 years ago, when we had council assembly, we could put a top table, yes, and there's not one person diverse on the top table there, yes, not even the mayor. So when I look up the table now, I see as well as men, women up there. Yes. And I think, in fact, they could be women outnumbered the men now. And then to have people of diversity was amazing. And that's why I'm so keen to work with Councillor Lamb and yourself, yes, to actually do the same for our councillors. When I came on board as a councillor, I think there was one other woman who was of colour. There was just the two of us, I think, in that whole council chamber. Yes. And now, yes, in the Labour group, we have at least half of our councillors are people with diversity.
Wow.
Black, Asian, etc.
Say that again, Councillor. Say that again. Say it loud with pride.
We have at least half the group of Labour councillors are people of diverse backgrounds. So we've got people from the Asian continent, the African continent, and other places as well. So we've really come a long, long, long way.
Absolutely.
But yet, I don't want to crow too much because we still have got a long way to go.
Yes, it's true. This is true.
We need to keep on trying and speak it up. And you said that one of the pledges was to pledge to listen and to amplify our voices. Well, that's what I said when I came on first of all, was to say that, get in there. Anybody listening to the show, get in there. Say, speak up. Yes. Do anything, whether it's voluntary or anything, just to make ourselves be seen.
Can make the difference.
We may not be successful, but we can be in there
Well
speaking
said.
out and being seen and being heard. That is so important.
Beautifully
You can
said.
inspire from
Beautifully
within,
said.
you know?
And I should observe, if I may, Councillor Dora, that your ward colleague is also leader of the council.
Yes,
Who's also appeared on this show in previous time. He's a man of mixed heritage and
yes,
understand the experience that you and I have recited today, and most
yes,
certainly is committed to the pledges set out in the Southwark Stands Together pledges. Yeah,
yes.
I think we are most fortunate to have him, I must say.
He's a great guy, and not only did he put down, obviously he still had his case to do as well. And we were at a branch meeting just the other day, a couple of days ago, and he came along, he spoke, and he's not there because his leader's not going to do any hands-on work. This is all about helping those who need it most. He was there, and our colleague Albert Williams was also helping as well to keep our presence up in the ward. So that's very, very important. If people can see that we're doing it,
Yes.
they might be inspired to do it themselves.
Lead by example, in other words. Lead by example.
Yeah.
Well
Yeah.
said. Well said. Now, I'm just conscious of our time, and we're starting a little late. Do you mind if I open up the phone lines and we may take maybe one or two calls? Would that be all right for 5 minutes?
That was mine. Thank
Wonderful,
you so much.
wonderful. Thank you, Councillor. What I'm going to do now, those of you, this is a live podcast, of course, being transmitted live by galaxyafiwi.net, also going out live via YouTube and Facebook under The Motivator Show, that's DE space Motivator Show, and also going live via Mixcloud as well, also under The Motivator Show. That's a purely audio transmission. So you can, those are the many platforms this show has been transmitted live. But if you want to interact with Dora Dixon Fowle, councillor with responsibilities for community safety here in Southwark Council, she has beautifully laid out her roles, responsibilities. She's beautifully given us some history of herself and, of course, her aspirations for the future. Let's interact with her. The number to call, it's 0203 289 6504. You can call now. I've only got maybe 5 or 10 minutes, so you need to call. Don't hesitate. 0203 289 6504. Often you see, Dora, I don't open the line. But today, for you, you've spoken so eloquently. I don't mind a call or two coming in. If you're going to call, please call that number now. I say again, 0203 289 6504. Okay, and I'll put that number in the chat as well, so those of you in the chat have got it as well. If you want to interact with Dora Dixon Fowle, who's taken up the mantle, listen to the call that we of African heritage must take community responsibility. Can I, whilst they're thinking about it, Dora, just ask a further question? It's quite evident to me that a lot of progress has been made, okay? And whilst the Baroness Casey report in relation to the police was a bit of a downer, I'm still optimistic for the future because that's simply my nature. Huh? But, but what did you tell us? What do you see a future Southwark? What's your vision for Southwark?
It's about the people for me. It's like the people. I've had lots of buildings going on, but wherever you look in Southwark, you look up, you see the cranes, more housing, more infrastructure coming in. It's really great. Mm-hmm. But for me, it's the people. Mm-hmm. Old, young, black, white.
Yes.
It's people, those with disabilities, those without. It's about, as you said yourself, perhaps we're too big in the traditional thought of a village, but we can still be an area where we help each other, yes. We support each other, yes. We don't see somebody go into a shop or supermarket, well, we think and wonder where that so is, and we'll try and reach out to the community. It's amazing the numbers of people in the council actually who live in the area. It's really,
This is
good.
true. Yeah.
A lot of people live in the area, live on outstates, etc. And it's about kindness. For me, I just want to hark back to the day when, somebody on the street, if you've got, I don't know, something wrong with your, shed or something, I don't know, but you go out and help them, you'd help, we'd all help, and we'd all come together as a community. I saw something really sweet the other day. There was a funeral taking place, and people on the estate had all come out to see that person leaving for the last time. And it's things like that, I think, because it's not just that it's kindness, but it also helps people's mental health and mental well-being.
Yes.
Because, you can trust somebody, you can lean on somebody when you feel weak. It's for being there for somebody else, and I just want to live in a society like that.
So do I. So do I.
Other people do as well.
Councillor Doyle, I just noticed someone called. I'm sorry, we just missed that call with number ending 9176. If you could call again, I think I pressed the wrong button. It was my fault. So please call again. Call it with number ending 9176. Oh, they're back again. There we go. Let's hope I get it right this time. And
please call again.
Caller with number ending 9176. Good morning.
9176. Oh, they're back again. Let's hope I get it right this time.
Oh, can I ask you, caller, to turn off your device in the background? We're seeing feedback.
Hi, Mum. Sorry, let me just see if I can.
Just turn off your device in the background.
Right, so sorry.
Oh, lots of feedback in the background still.
Yeah. Oh, so sorry. Let me just see if I can turn it off. Yeah. Hi, Mum. How you doing?
I'm well.
Hello, Dora. It's Melanie here.
Aha. Can she hear? Oh, have I pressed the wrong button? Dora, can you hear? Oh, hold on a second. Oh, have I knocked Dora off?
I've had a lot of problems this morning with listening on various devices,
Okay.
and I've only managed to get through on using 3 phones and
okay.
a TV.
I do apologise. I think I may have. I'm not very good at this telephone system. You must forgive me. I think I may have cut Dora off. So hopefully she'll call back. She'll call back in a second. Okay. Call back in a second. What did you want to say to her anyway? Whilst she calls back.
Well, it was really just a comment in that recently we've heard about in Scotland they're trying to legalise cannabis and other drugs as a way of decriminalising it. But my daughter last week went to America, where they've legalised cannabis.
All right.
And she said it was the most horrendous trip she'd ever had. In that, people on the streets actually, shooting up drugs. She saw muggings in front of her. She saw, she's horrendous things on the street.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she's actually a police woman, and so things don't normally faze her that much.
Mm-hmm.
But she said no. She said it was, kind of just the whole thing of people there was really bad. And the poverty and the mental health issues, and just very bad. And I was just hoping that nothing like that was being planned or thought of in. Hello. Yeah.
That's interesting. Well, I think that would have to be a national legislation rather than the local authority. I think that would be.
No, it was just the fact that she is looking at safety and she's looking at
Yes.
within the area and
Yes.
well-being within the community. And if that is being suggested, kind of please knock it on the head.
Okay, hold on a second. I think we may have Dora back on the line. Dora, are you there?
Yes, hello.
I'm
Hello.
sorry
Yes.
about that. That was my fault. I pressed the wrong button. So
That's
I
okay.
think you.
I recognise the voice.
Ah,
Yes, hello, good morning.
Melanie.
Yes.
oh, oh dear.
Amazing. As soon as I heard the voice, I said, "This is Melanie." I didn't quite hear the question. I think you talked about community safety and knocking on the head or something. I came in back on there.
Well, basically, what it was is that with the discussions in Scotland about legalising drugs, particularly cannabis and other drugs, I'm hoping that none of that is actually being discussed or Southwark. Because my daughter actually has just been to America. She's just been to New York last week, and she said that on the streets, because they've legalised cannabis, all the other drugs and everything are now beginning to appear on the streets, and people shooting up without, not even trying to hide it. People mugging people. She experienced this week, and just no help, and the amount of mental health issues and things, with people on the street.
Okay. Yeah.
Well,
So
it's true that lots of people are, lots of these knife crimes, drugs is the root of it, because forgive the words I'm going to use, but it's very toxic for certain people, and that's how they make their living. I'm talking about people higher up the drugs chain. I hope not. I hope it's not. But I can see that there is talk. You're right. There is talk about it, not just on the streets, but people in positions of power. There is talk about legalizing some drugs, and they're trying to take out the profit from it, and trying to hope that will reduce knife crime. But personally, for me, I don't think it's good, because once you start on it, it's a slippery slope, isn't it, downwards? Absolutely. Yeah, I would be for it. But I'm sorry, Melanie, there is chat out there about making it illegal. But I think it's they talk about it for the right reason, but I think doing it is the wrong reason, if you get what I mean.
Okay. Can I say, you must forgive me.
Nice to hear from you.
Thank you. You too.
All right. I'm conscious that I've got maybe 5 minutes remaining in this show.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's good. It's very good.
Anyway, it's lovely to hear from you, and keep up the good work, Martin.
There you are.
Thank you, my love. Thank you so much. Thank you,
Melanie. Take care. Bye-bye. So, Councillor Dora. Okay.
Yes.
So, you've spoken eloquently, and you described your journey so far, and you've also indicated your wish for the future, your vision for the future. Okay.
Yes.
What message would you give to particularly parents of those young people, again, those minority of children who are involved in antisocial behaviour, knife crime and other related behaviours? What advice would you give to them now you have this platform for a minute? I'll give you a minute to give them that advice.
Well, I can give advice, but I can understand why it might not be followed. I mean, children, obviously, that's why they're children. They need to grow up and learn right from wrong. And we teach, I believe, we teach our children right from wrong. But then they have other influences. They have the computers, they have access to lots of things which we might say, well, for you at the moment, it's a step too far. Just wait till you grow up a bit. To go somewhere, I don't know, miles away with a friend, just a friend the same age, it might be just a step too much. It's about keeping them in the fold until you know. And all children are different. All children are different. It's keeping your child in the fold close to you until you know until you believe that they are old enough to go out on their own late at night with the friends.
Well said.
I said that in quotes.
Well said.
Well said. So, yeah, it's about being there for them as well. But how can you be there for them if you're having to juggle 2 or 3 jobs?
And why those families, neighbouring families, are so important. That it takes the village. Families come together and support each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. There's an alternative to to you being there. Yes. Maybe it is going to a voluntary group in the evening up until 6 o'clock, until when you come home or something, you can pick them up or whatever.
That's why I want to give a big shout out, if I may, Councillor, whilst you're there, a big shout out for the Camberwell After School Project. I think it might be in your ward. A big shout out for them.
It is the great, fantastic Carmen. Who's there now?
Right, yes. Give a big shout. I know they're now seeking to raise £25,000 so they can continue their really important. They've been around for more than 30 years. Important work. I want to give again a big shout out to them. Seek out listeners, seek out viewers. The Camberwell After School Project, which is you can find it on your search engine and give generously so they can raise that money to continue their great works. Councillor Dora Dixon-File, you've been an outstanding guest. You've shared a lot of information today, and I know I'd recommend those of you who've listened to review the YouTube or Facebook recording of this show. Lots of rich information, lots of sound advice, good guidance. I want to encourage those who are listening and viewing to review and to take on board the advice given by what is the longest serving African councillor currently in Southwark Council. I want to say to you, Councillor Dora Dixon-File, long may you continue to serve.
Thank you very, very much indeed. I really appreciate this opportunity, and I really appreciate you and people who have listened and phoned in. Thank you all so very much indeed. Thank you.
Pleasure. Good day to you then. Good day. I look forward to seeing you in not too distant future.
Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. Bye-bye there. Bye-bye. Wow. Wasn't that something, huh? Wasn't that something? And she's just an indication of the quality of those who have gone into public service, okay? And have gone into, often is a lion's den, okay? Not easy, I can tell you. But with the intention to ensure that those public services serve the needs of not some, but the whole community. And she's a testament to determination, to rigour, to excellence, to real African prowess, if you like, And I met her mother before her mother passed, and her mother was such a truly inspired elder. And to have a mother like that, honestly, her daughter was always going to be successful. Yeah. So well done, Dora Dixon-File, Councillor Dora Dixon-File. And we should get her again, maybe next year. We try again, and we have raise other subjects with her. She will remain a powerful councillor here in Southwark, a testament and a mentor to hundreds, if not thousands, of young people across the borough, if not across London and beyond. Wow. Truly amazing personality. And it's a privilege to know her. But I want to give another big shout out. And I mentioned earlier on that the community response to support our children is abound. It's all around you. If you look, you search and you look, you'll find. And I want to give a big shout out to the combination of supplementary schools that operate typically on Saturday, but often in the evening, just like the Camberwell After School Project, okay? They're designed to support our young people, our children, okay? To help parents, particularly with childcare, to assist them and support them when their child are going through the usual trials and tribulations, okay? And to provide that collective support, that wraparound support, those families that need that support. Okay, and there are many families that need the support but don't at this stage take advantage of those services. I want to give a big shout out to all the supplementary schools. But if you're unsure where to find them, go to the National Association of Black Supplementary Schools website, and I encourage you to identify a Saturday school near you. Okay. So my time is almost out now for the Galaxy Efui network. So I'm going to cut off that network in a moment. But I'll just say to everyone, thank you for your listening ears. Let me disconnect from that side now, just so that the usual presenters from Galaxy can do their thing. And I now also just on this side, on the YouTube, Facebook, and Mixcloud side, I'd like to say to you, thank you for your support. I wish to encourage you, if you're happy with our content here, that you give us a like, put the thumbs up, yeah, or write a comment in the comment area. And what it does is just further affirmation of the quality of the service that we provide here. You might also want to indicate a few subjects you think we should tackle in the future. I can show you we've got some exciting guests coming up in the not too distant future, but I welcome your suggestions. So again, give us the like or subscribe. No cost. It simply tells you what's coming up on the next show each time. But give us a like, give us a subscription, give us the bell icon if you're on YouTube, or give us a comment. Feedback is all important. It gives us a further affirmation. What we're doing here is meaningful and is making a difference to you, your friends, your families, your networked lives. That's what we want to do. That's the way forward, working together, and then we can amplify our ambitions, and it'll be heard not just in our immediate neighbourhood, but in the rest of London and the rest of the country. And why not worldwide? This is the Motivator Show. This is where we translate our words into action, and where success is ours for the taking. Oh yeah, oh yeah. All righty, that's it. I'm going to log off now. I see you next strong. Let's get the music back on, shall we? Get the music back on. And I'm now going to recite it. Take care, everyone. Stay strong and be good to each other. Be good to yourselves, be good to each other.